There's something to be said for 73 degrees and sunny on February 16th on a Sunday afternoon in Southern California. Beautiful weather. Great weather for life, bad weather for getting podcasts done. But here we are, episode 62, Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast. It's a commentary. I'm a man out of quarters. As I referenced in the open, it's beautiful here today in San Diego. It is so great outside. There's people at the beach, friends at Disneyland, people going to the park, having barbecues. It's a 3-day weekend. It's President's Day weekend. New York was not like this at all. It was cold. It was snowing every other day. I bumped my flight up a day early to get out of there so that I didn't get stuck in New York for Valentine's Day. That would have been bad. I think many of you who listen to the show know that Teresa, my beautiful, lovely, opposite sex life partner, girl who pays half my rent, is wonderful and awesome and allows me a lot of leeway in spending a lot of time on pinball and the hobby. She doesn't ask for much. But what she does ask for, one of those things, is to be here on Valentine's Day. So I had to get home. So I moved my flight up and got home. So how's everyone doing? I started getting the emails again today. It's been, this is day 8 since last episode, and I got 2 emails today going, what's up? Where's 62? It's coming. I appreciate your patience or lack thereof. Either way, I sort of appreciate it. It's flattering. There's a lot going on in that I'm doing a lot of stuff and getting ready for a lot of stuff with pinball. There's not a lot of news coming out. Not a lot of big, like, oh my gosh, I got to get to my computer and record an episode so that we cover it. It's more, I feel like, calm before the storm still. Here we are in February. I think a lot of people in the country are freezing right now and just trying to get through the weather situations. I've been on a personal just LED kick lately, and I've talked about this before, but every time I come home from a trip or a few days away, it seems like there's a box of LEDs waiting. And a couple different people have emailed me and asking where I've been buying my LED lights from for my games. And I have tried to not talk too much about companies and whatnot on the show because I don't have any sponsors. I'm more general info, but I will say this. I have ordered my last probably, I think, 5 sets of LEDs from Comet Pinball, Comet LEDs. This is how organized I am. I don't even know the exact name of the company. Been very satisfied with them. I have bought LEDs from all of the big ones, all of the well-known names, and they're all really good. I mean, I haven't had any bad experiences, but as far as price for what I feel like I'm getting, Comet's been just really, really good. They have a bulb that sort of like has a flatter top to it and spreads light out like 300, and I think they claim 300 and I don't know if it's 360 degrees or 320 degrees, but in any case, it's great for GI lighting. And I looked at Twilight Zone when I got it as the game that I might not LED, that I might leave alone and just kind of let stay natural with the old school thing, because I respect that game so much. It's my favorite game ever, and I thought, you know what, I should leave this one the way I found it, so that it always kind of has that thing. But in ordering from Comet Pinball, I've had so many great experiences getting some good lights that I went ahead and just have been diving in. And I started out with just some inserts, but now I've been ordering just everything. And these bulbs that Comet Pinball sells, they're called Optics Maximus. And they're expensive. They're not cheap. They're a couple dollars a piece. And I ordered a bunch, and they have, all sorts of colors. And I have just really dialed in my Twilight Zone now. I think that I have replaced nearly every bulb in Twilight Zone to an LED except for a couple flashers and a couple normal lights that are really difficult to get to, that I just haven't taken the time to get underneath the gumball machine. And there's a couple lights down there that are tough. But it looks amazing. I really love the way it looks. I default to blues and purples a lot, even in the GI, because I like the way it plays off the colors. And I've added a couple spotlights to try and, light up some areas. I have a spotlight that looks down into Town Square, sort of posted sort of on one of the, it's actually posted on a pop bumper. Looking down into Town Square, it's a blue light, and then I have a spotlight facing away from the player right onto the clock, which I think is cool. I think I'm using like a warm white light for that to just really light the clock up so that when you look at the game, you have a lot of blues, and I have a ton of red GI lighting back where the gumball machine is, so it's sort of like blues and purples, and then this like gumball machine is glowing red, sort of like the power and the devil and, you know, whatever over there. I think that's pretty cool. But I want the clock to pop out, so I have like a white light back on the clock. And then I've moved my street light down a little bit. There's actually some people posted on Pinside forums about moving the placement of the street light that's above the mini playfield, above the power playfield, down, and I did that so that it's actually over the playfield instead of sort of over the back side of it, and it lights up the playfield even better. And I have a little LED. There's 3 sockets in that street lamp. There's a flasher socket and then 2 like wedge-in style sockets, and I put a like a twisty topped LED where you can like turn the light multi directions, and aimed it back at my Robbie the Robot mod guy who's above that ramp. So I really like where I have it now. And then my last final piece, I ordered some LED strips. They're plug and play lighted strips that Comet Pinball started selling. They're really cool. You can order them in either 3 LED sections or 7 LED sections, and they come with these awesome little connectors where you can connect either a 44 style or a 555 style, or little alligator clips, and then you choose and you just connect it in, which is great if you're experimenting and you don't want to commit to anything using the alligator clips. And then the actual LED strips have removable backing, so you can take the back off. And I played around with one of the 7 light, and it's sort of like a cool white color, I guess. I think they called it purple, but it ends up being sort of a cool white. But I guess it's actually their purple color. Anyway, so I played around with this in the back area because I wanted some more light in the back of the game. And what I ended up doing is actually putting it on the ramp, the turn ramp. I forget the actual name of the ramp, but it's the right ramp in the back of Twilight Zone. I sort of put it on the back left side edge so that when you're looking at it, it's not quite like the Tron ramp lighting effect, but the back edge of that ramp is sort of lit up. And I will post some pictures onto my Facebook page, which you can find if you go to facebook.com/Coast2Coast Pinball, of what I got going on with Twilight Zone, because I think it looks pretty cool. And I'm really into the way that game's looking and playing. Now, I am klutzy and not the best at working on things, and I accidentally screwed something up when I was working and installing all these LEDs with the top up. So I got the game all my lights in one night, put it back down, and then the camera shot wasn't registering, which freaked me out because I'm like, why is the camera shot not registering? Every time I would hit the camera shot, I would just get awarded the slot machine, which meant it wasn't realizing the ball was getting to that scoop by way of the camera hole. So I had to, do some work on my own and figure out that I had somehow bent the rollover switch that's in the subway where the ball would roll over to alert the game that this has come through the camera shot. So I fixed it, and I was very proud of myself because I'm not the best at, fixing these games per se. It's sort of watch YouTube, read a bunch of forum posts, and then cross my fingers and go. But so far, so good. So lots of LEDs. My Bride of Pinbot is all LED'd out. Judge Dredd is mostly LED'd out. I'm still playing with some of the GI lighting in Judge Dredd. It looks really cool, too. I've got different sections with different kind of color zones, and it's looking great. So, that's what I've been up to. I'm so into the LED things. I think it makes some of these older games with amazing artwork really pop out and do that. And I had mentioned in an episode not too long ago that I think it's almost a responsible thing to do, because when you have these games on with all incandescent lighting, they generate heat. I would walk into my office with both games running, and it would be warm in here, and the games would be putting off heat. Because, there's like 100 bulbs in these games or more. And moving to LEDs, it's such a better thing for pulling the power and putting off heat and whatnot. So, I encourage it greatly. And I actually had a couple people in different forms of communication sort of let me know that they appreciated that sentiment and that they agreed So I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see, what else is going on? So I was out on the East Coast working, and I was talking to one of my accounts, a music store in northern New Jersey, and he and I were just chatting, and I actually just got this account from another rep. This was really my first meeting of these guys, and we were chatting about just stuff. And I sell guitars. I'm in the musical instrument sales field, and one of the things that I think is real important when you're establishing what's going to be a long-term sales relation with someone, where you're going to be not just selling them something one time and see you later, more like, talk to these people every couple weeks or more. You need to get to know everybody a little bit. I think that's important in any business. So we were chatting about everything else, and they just flat out asked me, so what else do you do? What are your hobbies? What do you got going on? And I said, well, actually, I'm really into pinball. And the owner of the store lit up. His eyes got real wide, and he's probably a dude who's mid-50s, early 50s maybe. And he goes, oh, me too. I love pinball. I have 2 machines. And I said, really? You're kidding me? And turns out that he has a Joker Poker and a Circus Voltaire, of all things, at his house in his basement. And I was surprised. I was like, wow, Circus Voltaire, that's a great game. And he seemed surprised that I, A, knew what it was, and B, thought it was a great game. He said, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm like, well, can I ask you how you got it? And he tells me the story about his wife and his daughter, for his birthday a few years back, had met someone who owned a bunch of games in a warehouse in North Jersey, probably, like a operator warehouse, and was selling a bunch out of there. And they went and picked out that game and bought it. And I said, you don't know what they paid for it, do you? And he didn't know, but it didn't sound like they paid a lot for the game. And I said, well, that game's worth $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 right now. And he seemed kind of surprised and very excited that he had just met the dude who hosts a podcast on pinball. So he's already emailed me since, saying he checked out the show. So Mike, if you're listening, hello. This is your call out. Thank you for listening. Buy more Taylor guitars. But that was kind of cool. That was sort of a neat little crossing of the worlds, and I was excited about that. While I was in New York, and while I was changing my travel plans, I had to move some meetings around. I found myself with about 3 hours before my flight last Wednesday, with nothing really to do. So instead of driving to LaGuardia and the awesomeness that is LaGuardia Airport, and by awesomeness I mean not awesome, I went to the Sunshine Laundromat in Brooklyn, which I know I've been there before, the Greenpoint area of Brooklyn. I did a trip report on it in the show. And, man, I walked in, and guess what was there? Just sitting there waiting for me. Up on a platform, no less. Not with the other games, but up on a pedestal, if you will. There, all lit up in its beautiful, brand new condition, was a Star Trek Limited Edition, Enterprise Edition. It was awesome. It was cool. And I was all excited. And the lady working there saw how excited I was. And she was sitting there, watching people do their laundry and handing out change and whatnot. And I said, wow. And most of their games have dollar bill changers. So I was grabbing dollars out of my wallet to play. And then it did not have a dollar bill changer. And she said, oh, I'll get you quarters. And I said, oh, this is really nice. And she goes, that's my new toy. It's only been here for a couple days. And I thought, oh, are you the owner? Did you buy this? She goes, no. The owner buys these. So I don't know who owns the place and whatever. But I said, well, I'm excited to see this. So I played it. And if anybody saw my post on Facebook, I set the number 1 score. I did not set the grand champion score. Steve Ritchie's initials are still there for that. And I can't tell you I set exactly a massive, huge score. I've scored higher on the Star Trek Pro in San Diego that I've played quite a bit. But it was set really steep. I was playing really fast. Played really good, though. I mean, man, this game couldn't have had more than 30 plays on it. I just wouldn't believe it if it had more than 30 plays on it. No pit, no, dimpling on the playfield at all. It was just like a sheet of glass. It was awesome. And played pretty good. I think I put 60-some million up or something like that. First time I'd played this. And I had an email recently, somebody asking me if they were going to buy Star Trek Pro, should they hold out and get a premium? Well, I hadn't played one with the differences, with the different features yet. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on Star Trek Limited Edition / Premium. I really liked it. I really liked it. So you get your added features include, and I might miss something here, but the much talked about Starfield projector. You have the asteroids above the ramps with kind of flasher lights in them. You have the vertical up kicker on the left side, which comes out of the lock and then up onto the ramp. You have a kickback, and you have something else. Oh, the Enterprise toy on there, which I gotta say, I hate to say this, but so some of those features are absolutely worthless to me. Like, not even. It doesn't matter. Just, I could care less about those asteroids. Didn't even notice the Enterprise ship at all. And so that is what it is. But what I will say is the vertical up kicker's cool, and I like that it sort of resets the ball when you have the ball into that like lock target, because that's a pretty important shot in the game. And without it, you get this sort of kind of dribble out, I guess is the best way to put it. When you shoot that shot in the Pro, the ball just sort of falls out and right down through the area to your left flipper. The vertical up kicker's great, and it has a really cool like beam me up sort of like sound effect with it. So I guess that's what I would say about the vertical up kicker. It's cool. I know that they had to change that feature, and it delayed the higher end versions a little bit. It's cool. Does it warrant some big upcharge? Probably not. The kickback, I think, is the coolest of all the features not on the Pro. I just love kickbacks. I think it's so fun in that moment when you lose your ball to a left out lane to think to yourself, oh, do I have a kickback lit? And when it's lit, the ball comes flying out of there. I just love it. It's just classic pinball to me, to my era, at least, of pinball. So I really like the kickback kicker. That to me is sort of a big deal. There's lighting around the apron of the game that's not on the Pro. The apron has sort of like these opaque window panels, and it's pretty small. It's not like a real noticeable thing, but it's they're kind of just like white little panels that light up or stay lit maybe during play. That's kind of neat. I like that. Obviously you have all the tricolor LEDs throughout the playfield on the limited edition that isn't on the Pro, but the Pro does pretty good with the Star Trek Shield inserts. But it is kind of a step up in light show, obviously getting up to the higher models, so to speak. To touch on the Starfield projector, if it's possible, it was both better in person and just as bad in person as I thought it was going to be. So when it gets going, and I got it during Klingon multi-ball, you get the Starfield projector, and possibly somewhere else, I don't recall exactly. And you've got the little laser red lights going out. It's neat that they're not just on the playfield, and they are up on the ship and sort of on some of the ramps and stuff. It's kind of cool. The lighting wasn't super dark in Sunshine Laundromat where I was, so you could see them, but you couldn't see them great. But it also almost feels like a waste to put this really cool feature in that only gets used in a very certain time, and I don't know. Red Starfield, it just doesn't, again, to me, take it or leave it, it doesn't add an amazing amount of stuff, in my opinion. Like I said, the USS Enterprise on the right side, the little molded toy, I don't even remember seeing it, to be quite honest. It just doesn't mean anything. One of the listed features is a chrome wireform flipper return lane tubes. Don't even remember that. Don't recall seeing it. I don't know. Is it worth it? Right? That's what we're all wanting to know. Do I buy the Pro or do I buy the Premium? The color-controlled inserts, the kickback, I mean, that to me is what you're paying for. I don't see it on this one. I think this is one where you can get away buying the Pro. There, you can buy a Starship Enterprise little toy to pin in there for $100. I mean, that's no problem. I don't think you're going to miss the Starfield projector. This was the limited edition, so it had the laser cutout sides with like the shooting like photon beam things up the side. You can't even see that stuff if it's in a row of games. So I don't know. I don't think it's worth the upcharge, in my opinion. I think that the price difference in these games is still too much for what you're getting. I get it's a collectability thing, and that will probably push a lot of people over. But for me, I think the Pro's good. I think I'm quite okay with the Pro. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. If anybody out there is listening that bought either one and has their opinions, send me an email. I'd be glad to read that on the air. I'd like to hear your thoughts, because Star Trek to me is absolutely kind of in line to be, quote, game of the year, sort of the one we talk about throughout this year, because they're still shipping a bunch. It's a fun game. People are starting to ask the question, is this the best of the Stern games, of Stern Pinball? Is this it? It's getting thrown around up there with Lord of the Rings. It's not that same type of game at all. It's very much a flow game. It's fast. It's furious. It's cool. When you get in the multi-ball fights with the Vengeance ship, it's pretty awesome. So I think they have an absolute home run on their hands. I think it's probably overshadowing AC/DC at this point now. I think people are starting to forget about AC/DC a little bit, just because Star Trek is the newer, fresher one, and it sounds good, it looks good. So maybe this is the best of the modern Sterns. Sunshine Laundry really is a pretty amazing place. It's so unassuming. It's this tiny little, doorway next to a coffee shop in Brooklyn, and you walk in and there's an attack from Mars just waiting for you there, and the next game you see the Monster Bash, and then there's this row of games. And I think we ran down the games in depth last time we talked about it, but they had a No Good Gophers there, which they didn't have before. I actually saw the Funhouse and the Indiana Jones that I didn't see last time, that were sort of around behind the other games. I don't even know how I missed them. But it's amazing that so many of their games, between Medieval Madness and Twilight Zone Attack from, they have the top 4 games on the Pinside Top 100 right there waiting for you. And then, they have Addams Family, the Star Trek we were talking about, Theater of Magic. They didn't have Tales of the Arabian Nights this time. But they, the Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure. Was there a Circus Voltaire? No, I played Circus Voltaire somewhere else. There's a Whitewater, though. Funhouse. Just an amazing selection of games there, and the stuff's in good shape. Generally, they're set pretty fast. I mean, they're set steep. They're quick. But the more my flipper skills develop, the more I sort of like a steep game, because you get that ball moving, vertical more. Horizontal movement is often the death of me. When the game starts moving side to side, I'm in trouble. So, pretty interesting place. I really would encourage you to, if you're in the New York City area and you have the time. It's not the easiest place to find. There's street parking. You pay by the hour in the area. There's some good food in that area, but it's sort of a off the wall place to play pinball with just an amazing selection of games. So if you're in the Brooklyn area, definitely go hit up Sunshine Laundry. A brief look forward to the Texas Pinball Festival. I will be going. I've had to completely change my plans around on getting there. I booked all this stuff and then threw it out to Teresa on the days I was going, and she said, well, that's great and all, but you realize that is my spring vacation that week. And I'm like, oh. And Teresa can't make it because we have a little blind dog with diabetes who needs 2 insulin shots a day. So both of us traveling at the same time is kind of out of the question for the time being. And me leaving for the entire week of her spring vacation is sort of not going to be okay, because we had stuff we wanted to do on spring break, and I wasn't thinking, yada, yada, yada. So looks like I'm going to be getting to the Texas Pinball Festival morning of on Friday, flying in that morning, spending the day Friday, Saturday, part of the day Sunday, and then heading out to the East Coast for work on that Sunday. Some news and notes from the Texas Pinball Festival. They've announced in the last few days that Gary Stern will actually be there. He will be hosting a seminar called The Future of Stern Pinball on Saturday afternoon. That'll be cool. Maybe I can grab a few sound clips or at least some little chat with Gary Stern, ask him a few things. Might be fun. Got some things on my mind there. Another thing that they've announced in the last week in one of their news, like emails, they're going to attempt at the Texas Pinball Festival to set the world record for the most people playing pinball at one time. The current record is 100 machines set last year in Ontario, Canada at the Stratford Festival. I think they can destroy that record. Obviously, I think they have 400 machines promised at this show, so I think it'll be very easy for them to set a big record to put in the books. Also, some people who will be there displaying and showing off games and products. Pinball Arcade, Farside Studios will be there. I know they just announced that they have re-upped with Williams, and Black Knight 2000 was one of their latest tables, which I have not yet downloaded to play, but I will soon. Paul Ferris will be coming back. I think he's been there before. Amazing artist who did games such as like Xenon, Evel Knievel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Centaur, a bunch of games. So he'll be there signing and answering questions. Predator Pinball, Skip-B Pinball will be bringing the Predator machine. I really look forward to that. I'm very excited to see play and test out a Predator pinball machine and kind of find out where Skip-B is as far as getting those going. A lot of other things going on. Dirty Donnie, who did the metallic artwork, will be there. They'll be doing custom Sparkies. You pull your Sparky out and they paint. I believe you pull your own out. Maybe you buy a separate Sparky. I might be wrong on that. I'll have to look into that. So, really looking forward to that. We'll do a full rundown before we get to that show. I know Planetary Pinball is going to be having Medieval Madness there, so that's going to be awesome, and be a lot of news coming out. The Texas Pinball Festival, at least out of my mouth, around then. So, again, that's March 28th to the 30th, 2014. I know friend of the show, Shane, is coming all the way from Australia, so that's awesome. He's flying into the States. I think he's planning on hitting up some other pinball in Texas before the show, so I'm sure I'll get to chat with him at some point at the show. Very much looking forward to it. Also, looking sort of ahead to the Midwest Gaming Classic. That one is in Brookfield, Wisconsin, in about 3 weeks after the Texas show, 2 weeks after. Let me get the exact dates. My days are all running together here. Midwest Gaming Classic, which is one of the largest arcade and pinball shows in the country. April 12th and 13th. 2-day show. All day Saturday, all day Sunday. Very excited about that one too. We'll be updating more on that as we get closer to that. But again, a lot of industry people come up to that show. Great tournaments at all these shows. I can't wait. I hope to do episodes of Coast2Coast Pinball each day following the show to kind of let you know what I saw. And for those that can't make it there, sort of give them a little look inside what might be going on there.
Forum static.
There's a few threads that mention this. So, the Wizard of Oz machines, one of the selling points of Jersey Jack's Wizard of Oz machine originally was that the cabinet art on these games was going to be directly printed onto the wood and then clear coat put over the artwork. And if you have seen these games out in the wild, that's how they are, and they look spectacular. They're shiny, it looks real durable, etc., etc. Well, ran into a little problem. It turns out they're having some problems with these games getting chipped, and when the clear coat on these sides and front of the games chip, or the corners, it takes off some of the artwork with them, and there's really no way to fix it. It's very hard to touch up a game where you chip a piece of clear coat, take off the art, and then you have problems there. So, Jack announced that from kind of here forward, aside from some of the limited editions, the standards were all going to have decals. And people have started now to receive those games with decals, and I've seen some photographs and read some reviews, and it sounds like this is going to be probably a good move going forward. They're using a very high-quality print of their decals. One poster on Pinside actually had a Star Trek and a Wizard of Oz like side-by-side and took close-up photos. And actually also Lord of the Rings, so you sort of had older Stern, modern Stern, and then Jersey Jack decals, and you could see the crispness and lack of like dots on the Wizard of Oz art. It was really, really high quality, high resolution. Obviously, it's not a clear-coated finish, and some people expect to get a clear-coated, direct printed finish. But this is one of those things that I think most people will want to chalk up into the not insignificant, but it's just going to be a better move for the company to start doing this. I think decals inherently, the problem with them is they can tear and they can scratch and they can wear, but they are easy to touch up in comparison, and they will be able to be replaced real cleanly. So if you wear your game out over the next few years, there'll likely be replacement decals available. So I guess that's my opinion. I had an email from a listener named Matthew who felt that Jersey Jack was sort of, I don't know, should be discounting the game or going back on the game, but I don't play the cabinet, I play the game. It doesn't concern me as much. I also didn't have money into the thing. Maybe if I had, bought this game and wanted all that, I might be looking for a couple $100 back or something. I don't know. I don't know that's that big of a deal. I do appreciate how high quality their decal printing is, though, and the artwork looks great. I don't particularly love the artwork on the side of the Wizard of Oz. It's okay. Not really my cup of tea. So, I don't know. What do you think? Decals versus... The direct painting thing seems like a good idea, but in my head, when I picture clear coat on basically a wooden box, I sort of can see how cracks and chips and dings could just start flaking off, and that could be a problem going forward. So, I thought that was an interesting little piece of forum static out there. There's a thread going on right now that I liked, that somebody asked me what I thought of. They said, the thread, I can't find the thread right now, but do you find Medieval Madness or Monster Bash more fun to play? Oh, there it is. More fun to play, Monster Bash or Medieval Madness? And simple as that. Which one? And I played them both last week, and I guess I've played a lot more Medieval Madness over the years. So I know the game a little bit better. I've had really, really good games on Medieval Madness. I think it is the harder game to sort of get through with all the different features and get to the end, beat all the castles and become the king. Monster Bash, for whatever reason, I'm not as good as that game. The shots don't seem to line up for me as well. I drain down the middle a lot on Monster Bash. I get a little too zoned in to try and hit the Frankenstein targets. So I would tell you today, with my experiences and what I've played, I would have more fun playing Monster Bash. I like the music in Monster Bash. I like the call-outs in both of them. I like the toys in Monster Bash a little bit more, I think. They're a little more interactive. Medieval Madness has, obviously the castle's awesome. It's one of the best toys ever. But the dragon is just sort of a dragon. The trolls are awesome. So the trolls, it's tough. That's really tough. That's why these are two of the top games ever made. I would say today, on this day, I vote Monster Bash, but in a few weeks I might vote Medieval Madness. It's going to be very interesting to watch as Medieval Madness gets closer to shipping with the revisited, rerun, new edition Medieval Madness, is how people's thoughts and ratings on that game go. Because there's not a lot of Medieval Madnesses out there in the world in comparison to other games. So I have a feeling there's quite a few people who get in these threads and talk about that game that haven't really played it all that much. So, I don't know. It's out there. If you're in one of the cities with a lot of pinball, they're definitely out there to play. But I've heard from listeners who've not played any of the top 5 or 10 games, and these are people from around the world who are really sort of jealous that I get on here and talk about all these games. We have a couple listeners I know in Japan who just haven't played many of these games at all, and they always say how they can't wait to get over here to the States and play the games again. So I think it was just an interesting little thought. Which one's more fun? Because to me, those are two of my favorite games. So join that thread. Definitely, be a part of Pinside. Pinside's a great place to, add your opinion to and read cool stuff about pinball, and a great news conglomerate spot.
Going up.
Going down.
Going up, going down. This is an interesting one, and I sort of stumbled upon this one on accident when a listener whose email and name I can't find, which leads me to believe they might have sent the message via Facebook, said his girlfriend's a big Batman fan, and he sort of had the green light to buy a Batman game, and which Batman would I recommend? Because there's 3 Batman games out there. There's the Data East Batman, there's Batman Forever, which is the Sega game, and then there's Batman Dark Knight, the Stern game. I think most people would confidently say that Batman Dark Knight is sort of the the most revered and probably it is the highest ranked game on the Pinside Top 100 out of those three. I actually really like Batman Forever, the Sega game. There's a lot of value in that game. There's a lot going on, a lot of fun, really fun game. And I have a soft spot for Data East Batman. It's not highly ranked at all, but I kind of like the game. It's not bad for Data East, and it's a game you can get under $2,000 generally. So, but in looking at those games and looking at price points, I noticed something. All of those games, all the Batman games, are going up in value. And quite a bit, considerably. If you take a look at Batman, the Data East version, so when we look at Boston Pinball's record of eBay sales, which is a great place to kind of gauge general trends. I don't love it for generally gauging a price, because a price is so specific to the condition of the game, the location that you're in, and all these other things. But it can definitely tell you if the games are going up in value or down in value if there's a lot of them sold. And all of these Batman games have enough sold that I'm pretty confident in using these numbers. So, in the last 96 months, so years and years and years, the average price of Batman Data East was just over $1,400, $1,402. But in the last year, and I think their report currently runs through November of 2013, so there's about a 3-month lag there, the price was up to $2,026. So you're looking at, basically a 40% something, 40% increase, almost 45% increase in price on that game, and that's pretty hefty. And this is a game, Data East Batman, 3 years ago, in October of 2010, the game was ranked 119th on the Pinside Top 100. Today, it currently sits at 217th. So, as it's gone way up in price, its rating and ranking have gone down a lot. So that's sort of an interesting thing to look at. If you look at Batman Forever, again, the 96-month average on that game was $1,700. And Sega games for a while sold really cheap, and they've sort of, increased a lot. Because now, the 1-year average, $2,747. So that's kind of $1,000 from the average from, since they were sort of starting this, 96-month list, and then 1 year. That's a huge jump. And if you look at its ranking, at one point, years ago, in like May of 2007, it was a long time ago, it was the number 113th ranked machine. Well, now you fast forward to today, and Batman Forever is ranked 66th. So it's a top 70 game according to Pinside's Top 100. That's a big jump up, and you've seen the price go up with it, which makes more sense to me. The game, I think, has, I don't know, at $2,700, I don't know if it does, but it certainly at $2,000, I think it's a game with a lot of value in it, with cool features, lot going on the play field. Lots of modes. I don't know. I think it's a good game, a good one to own. Certainly fun. And its price is starting to show that. And then if we go to the Stern game, Batman Dark Knight. So obviously this is a much more modern game. This game's only, a few years old, really. But, the older pricing, so this is pretty much includes all eBay sales of this game ever. The average is $4,100. Well, now, the last year, the average is $4,967. So it's gone almost $1,000, almost $1,000, $867 jumped up. That game is increasing in value. And that's a game that I think a lot of people view as, one of the better of the modern Stern games. It's dropped a lot in its ranking, but, it was released not that far back. So people, when they initially, got it, of course, ranked it high. 2 years ago, March 2012, it was the number 18th ranked game. So it was a top 20 game 2 years ago. Today it sits at number 40. And that's I think that's a pretty fair spot for that game. I think that's a top 50 game. If you look at all time of, solid state, DMD and alphanumeric games. To me, that's top 50. That game's got a lot going for it. Cool modes, cool features, great toys. I think that's about right. So all the Batman games are going up in value right now. So if you're a fan of Batman, get a game, because those may keep going up. It's a theme that's super popular in our culture. The movies, the last set of movies obviously was massive. It doesn't really surprise me, but I thought that was interesting that all three, not just going up, but going up a lot. because a lot of games have gone up. And I've said it before, if you look at value of games, if a game's flat over the past 5 years, that means it's down to me. Because everything's sort of gone up. Have we seen a little road bump in prices? Yeah, I think so. I think we've seen things dip back down a little bit, or at least slow down. And I think that has to do, obviously, with all these great games that have been coming out. Wizard of Oz, AC/DC, Metallica, Star Trek, Medieval Madness remake coming, some other homebrew things that are happening. So, yeah, there's been a little price thing, but don't kid yourself. Prices aren't like dropping in general for later model and kind of sought-after games. Going down. This one was easy. It sticks out like a sore thumb. In fact, it was so obvious I had to go back through my notes of all 61 previous episodes of this show to see if I had talked about it before, because I can't remember everything I've talked about. And I guarantee you, in the not-too-distant future, I will repeat something. I will talk about something as if I've never talked about it before, because I will forget. I promise you. If you could see this notebook, you would just laugh. Going down. Stearns NASCAR. 96-month average price on eBay, $27.67, and that's what I would have thought. That sounds about right. A little under $3,000. Certainly not a game that's to me worth over $3,000, but $27.67, down to $22.34 for the last year. Now, I think there was 8 or 10 of those sold on that in a year, so that's a good sample size. Could they have all been sort of beaters coming off routes? Yeah, I guess so. But to me, that sort of speaks to that game doesn't really hold up. And when I say doesn't hold up, I mean that on a couple different fronts. I don't think the game's that fun. I don't think it's like, once you've played it and kind of figured out the rules and spent a little time on it, I don't think it has that long-lasting quality fun. And B, it's built cheaply. That's one of those Stern games that just sort of feels a little bit chintzy. And it probably does need a lot of repair and probably does wear and kind of show its age quicker. If you look at the rankings of that game, it's pretty interesting, because in June 2008, that game was ranked number 66, so well inside the top 100. And now we fast forward to now it's 168th. So it dropped over 100 spots since June of 2008. And just a year ago, in February of 2013, it was 153. So it's dropped 15 spots in 1 year. And it's not like there were 15 new games entering the list in that year. There's a few, but not that many. So that game is definitely declining. So NASCAR might be the kind of game, if that's a theme you like, or if that's sort of the era of Stern games that you do like and you're into, or you just want something modern with the DMD, Stern-style feel, that's a game you might be able to go find a deal on. Clean it up, put LEDs in it, be fun. I may bag on that title a little bit because I don't care for NASCAR and car racing in general. But it is still a modern pinball game and going to be a lot of fun. So, some interesting stuff there to find out as far as values of games go.
Check the email.
Oh, yes, the mailbag. I do want to thank listener Corey for shooting me a little note last night asking me if I had seen the Dutch Pinball newsletter, which I had not seen. I wasn't on their mailing list, so I'm on that list now. But anyway, Dutch Pinball shot out a newsletter called The New Expletive, using a four-letter word we don't use here on Coast2Coast Pinball. Not because I'm morally against it, just because I know people listen with their children in the cars. So anyway, The New Blank newsletter. So what they're saying basically is they moved in their new place. It looks fantastic. I mean, they've got 3D printers, laser cutters. They brag about their strongest coffee machine, so they're ready to work, it sounds like. They're going to do this newsletter to kind of roll out news on the Big Lebowski pinball machine as we get closer from Dutch Pinball. They had asked fans for input, and they listed their top 5 fan suggestions for features to go into the Big Lebowski pinball machine. And I'll just run them down. A lot of this stuff's pretty inside. Like, if you don't know the Big Lebowski real well, you might not know the references. Their number 5 was the Smash Larry's Car mode. Very cool. Number 4 was Jackie Treehorn's Spiked White Russian mode, where maybe the flippers have a delay and the lights slowly dim like you're about to fall unconscious. So I guess that was a suggestion there. Number 3, If you press the start buttin without credits, you get a call out that says, "Where's the money, Lebowski?" You know, like from the movie, obviously. Press it again, and then you get the "Where's the effing money?" And then another expletive. Lots of expletives in this. Bad words, swear words, which I use a lot. I swear a lot, just not on this show. Number 2, the machine is able to tell when it's technically the Shabbos in the player's local time zone, and Walter will need some extra convincing to cooperate in the game. And then the quotes from the movie where, you know, Walter's basically saying he doesn't bowl on Saturdays. It's the Jewish day of rest. So that type of thing. Kind of funny. That would kind of drive me insane if my pinball machine didn't want to start and I was trying to play it on a Saturday. Number 1, tilt warning callouts. Like, first warning could be, "Careful, man, there's a beverage here." And second warning could be, "This aggression will not stand." And then if you tilt, you could say, "You're out of your element. You're being very undude. Mark it 0, dude." So all cool stuff. That movie, I think we knew going into this Big Lebowski Pinball, that movie just offers up some of the best quotes for callouts, and the fact that they're going to be able to incorporate all that in there is going to be really, really exciting. So very cool. Dutch Pinball is kind of on it. Subscribe to their newsletter if you want to get all the latest, greatest updates on that. Also, they've announced that the Bride of Pinbot 2.0, you'll be getting the free color DMD upgrade if you've bought into that already. So they're working on the licensing right now for Bride of Pinbot 2.0, which has freaked out some people because I think people had sent them money just assuming they were going to make it and have it happen, and now they're making sure they do it all in the up and up and get their approval from Williams and whatnot. So a lot going on there. Excited to hear more about that as the year progresses. Thanks for the heads up on that, Corey. Let's see what else we got in the email here. I'm way backed up. Listener Chris said he had some site problems, he was getting 403 errors, not getting the shows to play. I checked that out. They all seem to be playing, so I'm not totally sure about that. John wrote me. Let's see. John just basically said, "Just listen to work. Another great job. Thanks for making my day go a little faster. Hope you made it back to San Diego. We're going to get slammed with big snow in the New York City area." Yes, I did. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jonathan wrote me, "I recently downloaded all the pinball podcasts available on iTunes and got the entire archives for all of them. I've been listening to Coast to Coast Pinball for the past 3 days and really enjoy it. I am up to episode 50. So let's take a break here. Jonathan listened to 50 episodes of me running my mouth over the course of 3 days. I don't know whether to thank you or apologize. That's impressive. That's a lot. So he's up to episode 50 and have found out tons of things I had no clue about. Thanks for mentioning the Pinfinder Pro app on iTunes. I know of a few places here in Florida in my area that are not showing up on the app because we have to update the Pinfinder Pro app ourselves as the players. We have to be on that. I got back into pinball because of the Pinball Arcade app on iOS. So it's another player who says that the Pinball Arcade app has kind of brought them back to the hobby. That's awesome. I agree with you. It's a good way to learn rules of all the tables, but isn't an adequate replacement for the real thing. I was wondering, what Pinball Hall of Fame would you recommend visiting? Is the one in Las Vegas better, or is the Asbury Park one better? Well, let's answer that before I finish your email. Gotta go to Las Vegas, and I'll tell you why. As much as I love the Silver Ball Museum in Asbury Park, if you're a really big EM and early solid state fan, Asbury Park's amazing. It's the best collection to me of EMs in those earlier 80 games. It's fantastic. You're probably not going to find a set of EMs in as great a shape, and so just a deep collection from wood rails all the way up through wedge heads into the modern era as the Silver Ball Museum in Asbury Park. It's amazing. The Pinball Hall of Fame sort of has all of it. Like, really all of it. From brand new Stearns to old stuff in one-offs that you'll never see before. He has some collection pieces, Tim Arnold does at the Hall of Fame. They're just amazing. You really should try and do both in your lifetime. And I know you're in Florida, Jonathan, so that's sort of like opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know if you've got a significant other, take that significant other to Vegas and, make sure you carve out a half a day to do the Pinball Hall of Fame. The Jersey Shore is a little harder because it's not like, I think if you're in Florida, you're in a big rush to go to the Jersey Shore, because I think traffic usually runs the other way there. I think most of those Jersey folks are trying to get to Florida. But they're both amazing, and they're both really cool to see. So I think Vegas is maybe just a little more complete as far as the modern side of the games. So that's what I would say. He goes on to say some other cool stuff, and talking about some wrestling podcasts that I also listen to, and I think that's really cool. So I really appreciate the email. And this is funny. This is what I want to read. He says, "I hope you and your girlfriend enjoy the Medieval Madness table, because by episode 50 I was probably still in, and now I'm out. So thank you for listening. You've probably caught up. This email was a week or so ago. So thank you very much, Jonathan. That's impressive to go through and listen to all of those. Very awesome. T-shirts. Got a lot of emails through T-shirts. Midnight colored T-shirts, extra larges. I'm down to one. I had a run. Like, everybody wanted extra large midnight T-shirts, so sold a bunch of them. I have mediums, larges. I have a double XL or two. I have a triple XL. I have one XL left in the midnight. I have a couple colors in black left, and I think I have like a small in green. And then I also have another color scheme of T-shirts coming this week. I think they'll be delivered this week. So I'm trying to build up a little stock, so when I go to these shows, I'll have T-shirts to sell, but I keep selling shirts, which, thank you. I do appreciate it. Those shirt sales really, if you're wondering, what I'm getting out of that, I think it's awesome that there's people wearing Coast2Coast Pinball shirts out there in the world, and B, any extra money I do make off the shirts, which isn't a ton, but it's enough that I can sort of pay for these trips I'm going to take this year. Pay a little bit of my my flight fees to Texas and to the Midwest Gaming Classic and possibly Pinagogo and some of these other shows I want to go to, so that I can then report back and kind of have some content for the show. So really appreciate that. If you're interested in a shirt, let me know. Sizing is going to get a little tight on the midnight as far as XL. That's going to do it for episode 62. I apologize about the week-long break between the last couple shows. It's just a lot going on right now with personal life between Valentine's Day and my first travel of the year and all that. Got a lot of stuff coming up, so we will have more shows rolling out to you soon. 63 will not be a week away, I can promise you that. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can always email me directly at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. That's coast, the number 2, coastpinball@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. That's actually really important, because I often will throw up just photos and little updates on Facebook only, just when I'm out in the world. Follow us on Twitter. Twitter's more of... I like to see what everybody else tweets, so follow us on Twitter, and I'll try and follow everyone back if I can. And then if you got pinball stuff, I love to see it. And the show updates always go to Twitter real quick. So if you're following your Twitter, you'll see the show updates hitting there. And until then, enjoy yourselves and play some pinball. Take care. I don't know. I just needed something to put on the end of the podcast. Super Mario Brothers 2. I don't know. This is what I got. Deal.